In this video, I'll be giving you 3 tips on what to do before you go into a family photography session, and you'll be coming with me as I shoot a family. So let's get it. What's up? I'm Omar Eltakrori, and this channel is all about helping you take better photos. If you're interested in any of those things, make sure to subscribe, and make sure to check out the links in the description below for any of my gear lists or more info on the video, just in case if I ever forgot something or whatever. So today I wanted to give you some of my top 3 tips on what to do before you go into a family photography session. And I think these things can help across the board, whether that's a portrait session or a senior session you're doing or whatever you're doing. These are just things I typically do before I go into a photo shoot. And following my 3 tips, it will be my wife following me as I'm doing a photo shoot session, and so I chopped it up just to give you some clarity on some things, and so there's a bunch of value you can get out of that. So stick around while after the 3 tips to check out the whole video. So tip number 1 is Pinterest. So I think one of the biggest things you can do before you get into a shoot is hit up Pinterest for the exact type of shoot you're gonna do and get some ideas. And typically my ideas not necessarily come from location-wise, but for instance, I'm shooting a family with a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, and so I look up posing ideas. I'm not a huge fan of poses. However, positioning is huge, especially when you're taking pictures. You're talking about 2 adults, aka the parents, and then the kids, which are at like waist or below height. So how can we shoot different ways with them all in the picture and yet not be awkward or weird? And so what Pinterest does typically is it gives me a rough guesstimate on how to position people, and then I tell them to go interact, and you'll see examples later on, and then they're interacting, and then I'm shooting them while they're positioned really well. And like during the session, you can reference those poses. I think when I screenshot them, and whenever I'm shooting, I can pull out my phone. If I find a cool area, just pull out my phone and be like, okay, this is a good position, and then I put them in that position, and then I shoot it. And so it's super helpful. And I think over time, how to place people, they start to you get embedded in that, and then you just know how to place people during photo shoots regardless of the type of photo shoot you're doing. So I don't know, you can get so many ideas from Pinterest, but that's like my number 1 tip, because if you're gonna go on a photo shoot and you think you're just gonna do it based off of what you think, I think you can get way better ideas off of Pinterest. So start a board or just start screenshotting and use Pinterest. Tip number 2 is to get to the location before your clients do. I think unless you're a master photographer and you got the location down to a T, many times when I ask my clients what kind of shoot are you going for in regards to outdoor, indoor, what have you, they typically give me like a nature, or we want to go urban, downtown, graffiti walls or whatever. So I think get to the place before they do. And actually, I think this goes to talk about even the certain photo shoot that I did in this video. I actually showed up to the original spot 45 minutes before, me and Amanda, and we ended up walking around, and I saw that the park closed 30 minutes after they were supposed to get there. And because they have kids, I was taking into consideration they're probably gonna you always have to give that grace period for kids, especially toddlers, because to get out the house is such a a hassle in of itself. And so she ended up calling me and telling me we're just now leaving, and I was like, dang, this is the time they're supposed to get here. So by the time they get here, we'll have maybe 15 minutes to shoot. That is not enough time, but it gave me the ability to know that because I got to the spot early, I was able to see that the park closed. And so actually what you're gonna see after these tips, you're gonna see me shooting at a place that I was familiar with, and that I was able to just call an audible and be like, hey, let's just hit up this park on this cross street. I think this will work out really well. And so keeping that in mind, I think tip number 2 would be to get to your location early before your clients. And then tip number 3 is control as much as you can. What do I mean by control? There's some things you can't control when you're doing photography, especially with toddlers and families. You can't control their reactions. You can't control their moods. But what are some things that you can control? You can control the location. You can control the time and date. You can control the weather. Whether we should shoot on this day because it's raining or not, or it's sunny out. You can control the location within the location. There are many things photographers have control over. This area looks better. We're in the same location. This area looks better than this location. Let's shoot here. So in this actual photo shoot that I did with this family, it is a park, and then there's neighborhoods across the street. I took control on the locations within the locations. I took control on the time of day. And all those things actually made out to make the picture amazing. It's the lighting that makes the picture amazing. It's the settings on the camera. Those are under my control. And so not being able to control kids, you can also capture the character and like the personalities of the kids when all your controls are in place. Then you can capture that for that family. For example, if a kid is typically happy kid and the sibling's a kind of sad kid, having a picture of the kid that's sad crying and the kid laughing at the kid crying, and then the parents kind of like, that's actually pretty cool if that picture was taken at an amazing location and had great settings. And so those are my 3 tips. Going back, number 1, Pinterest. Number 2, getting to the location before the client does. And number 3, controlling as much as you can. Now let's get into my photo shoot. I hope you enjoy the examples. And right before we get into the photo shoot, I just want to tell you my quick setup. My setup is the Sony a7R II and using the 55 1.8 Zeiss lens. You can check out the gear and specs on that in the description below. But just goes to show, like, I do not switch out my lens during this session, and all these pictures come from that one setup. And I hope that encourages you. And also, if you have any ideas on other videos to do, make sure to put them in the description below. And hope you enjoy. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. So right now I'm shooting on continuous focus because they're moving while holding my back button focus. I'm trying to get that sun too. So 2 things initially I want to point out. Notice that they're positioned but not posing. And I think there's a huge difference when taking photos that, when they're placed in a good position, then they don't necessarily have to sit upright and they have to smile at the camera. And that's awesome, but it's also like, I love telling people to just, hey, can you guys interact? And then I'm shooting. And then the second, point that I want to make is when you have your clients positioned in a good place, it's actually a great idea for you to move around. And so you can notice here that like I got this picture straight on. I got this picture, I turned to the left, and just changing your perspectives can pull out so many other different types of pictures while they're engaging and not necessarily always posing. This right here, I think, is a perfect example of just shooting. I'm not a huge fan of like super bursting on your camera. I think taking less pictures and then more pictures coming out of those less pictures is a great practice. But when shooting families, you kind of have to just take as much as you can because you don't know what's going to happen. So, I mean, when we're moving to another spot or location within the location, I'm always shooting. There's kind of like magic moments that you can capture during those times, whether that's like the dad holding the kid or mom and dad talking. You can just capture something lifestyle-wise. This right here is a perfect example of asking your client, do you have anything in mind, or did you want to do anything? Her sitting on the rock, I think these pictures came out amazing, and it was totally her idea, and I think she got the idea from Pinterest, honestly. But I'm super open to letting my clients do what they also want. What's cool about this too, it gives you as a photographer the opportunity to achieve what they want, or even to do better than the picture that they show you. I've done that plenty of times, like, oh, that's tight, but I can actually make that better. And so always ask your clients, is there anything you guys want to do? The best photos come from taking risks. I loved this house, and I actually knocked on the door and asked the dude that was living there if we can use the outside of his house. I promise I won't get anything inside. And the dude was more than happy to let us use it. And the pictures that came out of this area, which is a house that was across the street, came out incredible, especially where the sun was the way the sun was coming. And just make sure you don't be afraid to take some risks when like in a photo shoot. Change angles, change perspectives. I spent a lot of time here at the flowers because I think there was just so much, like, with the color and then the lighting, and so I also don't think you need to feel like you always have to be moving. I think you can capture a ton of stuff at one spot if you yourself is moving, and if you're capturing kind of different positions of your client. Can you kiss him on the forehead? This is going to sound funny, but I think creeper shots are my favorite. I think if you can get behind something and make your subjects the focal point, but whatever is directly in front of you blurry. That gives a dynamic that makes photos for hanging or putting up in a home really good. Typically, there are a lot of families that love like the portrait, smiling at the camera, but I love teaching my clients that like these ones are the kind of ones you want to put in your house, like almost like art pieces where they're not necessarily the biggest thing in the picture, but they are in focus. But however, there's so much other things going on. Those make for the best pictures hung at home. Because there's I'm walking ahead of you. Love it. Spontaneity. Sometimes you walk by stuff and it might work. If it doesn't, it's all good.
He's like, what?
All right, cool. Yeah. And then finally, I think as we wrapped up this shoot, you know, it started to get a little dark, but I think if you're shooting raw images, just know that you can always go longer in the dark than you think. Raw images are very forgiving, and although there may be a little grain, it might be terrible based off of the camera you're using, but you know, you can still keep going. And so I hope this photo shoot you found very helpful, and here I am wrapping it up. But you guys, let me know what you guys think of the photos. Hey, let me know how you shoot families. Do you prefer like portrait photography where it's enclosed environments, not too many distractions, or do you prefer outside and doing natural light, using natural light, the sun? Either way, thanks for checking it out. Omar Eltakrori. Follow me on Instagram, and make sure you like this video if you found it helpful. Subscribe if you haven't. Hit that bell to be notified when I post new videos. I don't even know when I post new videos, but hey, peace. That's where the hood comes out of me.